pretty much what we'll be talking about is Woolworths, Woolies, whatever you want to call it. They've rolled out more surveillance. This came out recently as well, and they're also adding more artificial intelligence for their self-checkout service. Pretty much where their self-service, their people are now going to be monitored because they're installing or ramping up, I guess you can say, the recordings and surveillance of people. And their claim is they're implementing this to make shopping more convenient and seamless for their customers. And of course, they're also saying it's to stop accidental scams like double scanning items or stuff like that. But more importantly, to make it more convenient, as you like to say. Now, I know how much you love. I know how much you love self-checkout, just based on what you've said about it in past updates. As I'm sure everyone else who's tuned in, they've heard you speak about your feelings towards self-checkout and it. But now we're seeing this go to the next level, and it's not just Woolies looking at doing this. Like you've got Kmart, you've got Good Guys, and even Bunnings looking to do something similar with their technology, where they want to add more surveillance. But it looks like they're using it as a form to monitor people. So what are your thoughts on this, and why do you think they're actually looking to implement this?
Oh, this is all about. So two things. One, stop using fucking self-checkout. It's as simple as that. The other thing is that this is the bad side of AI, right? AI is going to make it easier for all these large corporations to make it convenient for you, and it's for your safety. Whenever you hear those phrases, fucking run. Because what it really means is we're going to take all your freedoms away from you. We're going to treat you like a criminal as soon as you walk into our store, right? We're not going to trust you. And if you put one foot out of place, we're going to screw you, right? At the same time, we're going to get rid of all the staff in here and have robots and everything, running the place. The next thing will happen is they will say that they'll reduce the amount of checkouts. Like I was in a Coles the other day picking up stuff, and the line up to use the checkout with a proper checkout check, they only had one open. It was about 20 deep, and they wouldn't open another one. All they kept saying was, you can use self-checkout. Oh, you've only got 10 items, use self-checkout, right? And I kept saying to them, no, I'm not going to put that girl out of job, right? And they still wouldn't open another thing. They're trying to make it and force you, right, to use self-checkout so they can totally look at what you're doing. Now, if you try and pay in cash as well, that's another reason that they want you to self-checkout, because most of the self-checkouts now, you can only use card. Right? That's another reason that I don't use self-checkout. Because sometimes, or most of the times, I want to use cash. Right? I want to use good old cash. Cash is king. Right? And if we stop using it, it'll disappear. So that's what you should be using the checkouts for. Making sure you use cash. I know they have one or two that you can use cash at, but the self-checkouts are getting way less. So all this AI is tracking, it's for your convenience, it's for your safety. It's just more and more pushing down the track of just totally controlling and everything that's going on. Remember, the more that you use credit cards and all that sort of stuff, the more data they get on you, right? So because then what they can do is they can, I don't use, the rewards cards that Coles and Woolies get. If you got one of them, throw the fucking thing away. If you're worried, people that are worried about director's ID and then go and have a Coles and Woolies card and use it to get a fucking teapot or something at the end of the year, you're a fucking moron. Because that is how people are getting tracked. Because they're matching every single transaction you do with every single dollar you spend, and they can profile you right down to the fucking hind teeth, right? They can tell you when you crap, when you wake up, what you do, because they've got your full footprint. That is how they will control you, not through directors' IDs, not through fucking credit systems. We've already got a credit system in place. It's got a credit card and rewards programs. And that is how that they'll go, oh, this person kept buying Coca-Cola and all that sort of stuff. Now, you know, they've got to have a sugar tax. You know, this person kept buying tobacco products. No, they've got to have a tobacco tax. Right? They're not allowed this service, they're not allowed that service. They can do it right now because they've got all the information. And the worst thing is that's all in private hands. Right? The government will then ask for it to be turned over for your safety, right, and convenience. They don't need anything else. They've got all the tracking tools that they ever want. All the rest of it is look over here while we fuck you over here with the data we've already got. So people really start to wake up and know that the tracking's been in. It's been in since the 70s, right? And we're all guilty of it because we all give up, you know, up data. But also at the end of the day, it's hard not to, you know, unless you really do want to go and live back in the Stone Age. You know, if you ask the Greenies, that's what they want us to do. But the role that, and every store will do this because it'll start getting insurance mandated. And I wouldn't be surprised if Woolworths doing this is not a insurance reduction measure to get ahead of their liability for shoplifting and double payments and all this sort of stuff, credit card fraud and all the rest of it. Yeah. So watch out. This is the, and I have said this before, is AI's got a good and a dark side, and watch big corporates use AI for the dark side.
So really they're looking to do this and implement this whole AI and improved AI just to track more of your data and keep up with your habits and stuff like that.
Oh, 100%. It's to refine their models. 1,000%. It's to refine their models to make sure that they keep sucking more and more data out of the system, you know, of your behavior and all that sort of stuff. They don't really need your name and that, you know, because as soon as they can create a profile, they'll use that profile and then say, this is the average person that lives in this area, and we'll just apply it to everyone in that area, you know, so the bands. So.
What about, can you see it leading to any more AI tracking or anything like that? Because I'm sure it won't just stop here in grocery stores. It'll definitely expand. The whole idea of wanting to track more data and keep it is going to expand. So what other areas do you think?
Yeah, it's everywhere already. Every time you walk around the city, and you hear councils going, we're putting CCTV in for your safety, you know, so we can better clean the city and monitor the city. It's all tracking, right? And what they can do is they can get AI recognition face. This sounds like Minority Report stuff, but this stuff's already available, right? Right now, right? They can take CCTV of you walking into a 7-Eleven, right? Match that with your name that pops up on a credit card, verify against that a driver's license, which already has your biometrics and a face identifier on it, and go, okay, yeah, that was him that walked in there at this time of night doing this, right? One of the big things that they used to do with ATMs, and I'm not sure if they still do, because a lot of people probably don't use ATMs anymore, but they used to know people that were going to strip clubs and tend to be up to no good, were people that tended to take money out between, like, I think it was 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Right? They had this whole model of people that took out money between 1 and 3 a.m. Tended to be people that were engaged in antisocial behaviour, right? Or what they deem antisocial behaviour. Who cares if you want to go to a knock shop and whatever else? But they picked that up through a whole heap of data that was available and ATM records, because most people took money out of the ATM, right, to then go and, you know, get their hit of cocaine or, you know, get a hooker or whatever it was, and pay it in cash. So there's a whole there's a whole tracking thing that's already been in place, and this stuff's been in place for years.
Yeah, and you can see that even just watching movies like Jason Bourne, which was, I don't know when it was made, but like 10 or 20 years ago or whatever it was, that you could already see the tracking. And even though it was just a movie, movies don't, I mean, yeah, they do come out of fantasy, but something like that, you already know, like CIA and just a lot of different government agencies would have a lot of data, and that was like 20 years ago. So imagine that 20 years later.
Yeah, and look, a lot of I had a really interesting dinner probably 10 odd years ago with a guy that worked in Hollywood and made a lot of TV shows. And he said most of the TV shows are based on true technology and stuff that's available in that time. He said, so it's probably about 70% true with what they can actually do. A lot of the enhancing imaging and all that sort of stuff that you see is all computer generated. But the ability to be able to access that data is true, right? We do know that there is spy satellites that take photos of international bases and all that sort of stuff overseas. So of course they're using it in their own country. They say they're not, but they are. And so a lot of this stuff is out there, and it's only going to get better and better and better and better. And they don't need to introduce a credit scoring system. They don't need to introduce any of this sort of stuff. The reason China jumped straight to like a credit system is because they pretty much didn't have anything else. It's only been in the last 20, 25 years that China's actually started to have electronic payments, and they skipped cash, right? They went also, when I say they skipped cash, they skipped that whole generation that we had, or multiple generations that we had, where there's a big cash economy. They went from an agrarian barter system to using cash to going straight to using WeChat and WeChat Pay for everything. Now, there's still a lot of cash flowing around in China and a lot of those countries, but they've gone digital really quickly, really hard. And the government had no, other than on the ground intelligence, they had no way of doing the data collection because they just didn't have it. So they jumped ahead really, really quickly into the data world because they were able to build stuff from scratch. Us, on the other hand, since the 70s, 60s, 70s, when all this stuff started to be introduced, it's been in corporate hands, it's been a little bit of government, it's been here, it's spread across so many different organizations. And Facebook and social media has started to pull all that together for mass use here in the West or in the modern world as we saw it. So if I'm the government, right, and I want to get a whole heap of data, I'll just go to Facebook and buy it, right? You know, why go and invent the wheel and that? Just go and scrape it off social media, and they're doing it. So they don't have to put any major of these big systems and stuff in place that China's put in place, because they can just go and buy it off in the free market. They can get all the data they want, and they don't have to abide by privacy, you know, because they're saying it's for your convenience and your safety, right? So they don't have to abide by privacy laws or anything. And if you have a look at most of those privacy laws, the government, you know, doesn't have to follow them if it's for security reasons. So, you know, I wouldn't get really concerned about what is coming. Get concerned with what is already here, right? And start making small changes in your daily habits to thwart that system.